Welcome to Day 6 on the Trail. We have 4 readings for today, from Luke chapter 2, verses 21 through 40, Genesis chapter 8, verse 20 through 10:32, the 10th Psalm, and Sirach chapter 5, verse 1 through chapter 6, verse 1. We are going to focus our time today on Psalm 10 and the wisdom of Sirach chapter 5, because there are some common themes that I hope will be helpful. Now, Psalm 10 has a dichotomy that is quite familiar in the Psalms, and that is the contrast between the wicked and the righteous. For example, verse 4 says, "In the pride of their countenance, the wicked say, 'God will not seek it out.' All their thoughts are, 'There is no God.'" In the first half of the psalm, the wicked think that God is not paying attention. Therefore, they can get away with their wicked plans. They can do whatever they want because God either does not see what they are doing or does not care. But the second half of the psalm proclaims that yes, God in fact does see all that is happening, and God will bring justice. However, what happens in between? What do we do while we wait for God's judgment to arrive? In verse 17, we hear these words of encouragement. "O Lord, you will hear the desire of the meek. You will strengthen their hearts. You will incline your ear." But who are the meek? Who are the ones God will strengthen? Who are the ones whose prayers God will incline his ear to hear? Jesus also makes reference to the meek in the opening verses of Matthew 5, a passage that is often referred to as the Beatitudes. In verse 5, Jesus tells the gathered crowd, "Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth." Also, in Numbers 12, Moses himself is called meek. In Zechariah chapter 9, verse 9, a passage which also references the triumphal entry into Jerusalem, a victorious king enters Jerusalem triumphant and meek, riding on a donkey. Meekness does not mean weakness. It is not someone who is milquetoast or a pushover. Instead, meekness was a highly desired quality throughout history, and it was considered a virtue, something we should endeavor to exhibit. Great philosophers said that meekness was the opposite of brutality and untamed anger. In the early church, leaders believed that meekness was the product or the outcome of wisdom. We are called to be meek, the opposite of being angry or out of control. And so while we may see injustice in our world, while we patiently wait for God's judgment, we are to display meekness for the time being. In Sirach chapter 5, we see similar themes to what we found in Psalm 10. For example, in chapter 5, verse 2, we find, "Do not follow your inclination and strength in pursuing the desires of your heart. Do not say, 'Who could have power over me?' For the Lord will surely punish you." And again in verse 5, "Do not be so confident of forgiveness that you add sin to sin. Do not say, 'His mercy is great. He will forgive the multitude of my sins.' For both mercy and wrath are with him, and his anger will rest on sinners." Sirach warns against the arrogance of taking advantage of God's mercy and patience. We see a similar reminder in Galatians 6, where Paul says, "Do not be deceived. God is not mocked, for you reap whatever you sow." So here again, we are reminded that God is paying attention, and we should act accordingly. Later, in verse 11, Sirach adds, "Be quick to hear, but deliberate in answering. If you know what to say, answer your neighbor, but if not, put your hand over your mouth." The book of James says something quite similar. You must understand this, my beloved. Let everyone be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger, for your anger does not produce God's righteousness. James chapter 3 provides even more warnings about how we should control our speech. So today, we are reminded that we should not take advantage of God's mercy and patience, but rather seek Him in meekness and honor Him in humility. One way we can start this journey is by controlling our speech and our anger. Yes, it is easier said than done, but we can start this journey today. Thank you for joining us today. Until next time, stay on the trail.